Is that kind of like, do you think What If was for the fans?
What If was for no one. What If sucked. They tried to make that one for the fans, and it was not.
I kind of like What If.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Popcorn Bucket List. Joining us today, another special guest, Tahjee Smith from Smack Entertainment is back here on the show. He's basically, we're talking Marvel here. You know how news stations are like, here's our financial analyst or our political supervisor. You're basically our Marvel guy.
Hey.
You're the guy we bring in on the show for Marvel talk. And
When Nick and Ryan need me, I'm going to answer that call.
Yeah.
I'm going to be here. I'm going to make sure I'm sitting right here, you know?
Yeah, like I already alluded to, we're talking some MCU stuff. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania has been in the theaters for a couple weeks now. It is the official kickoff of Phase 5 of the MCU. Yet the box office is a little bit lower, and the reviews are even lower than that than expected. So we're going to give our thoughts on the movie, what we think the future might hold here. Is there some concern? Maybe. I don't know. We'll kind of talk a little bit about that and what to expect. So first things first, let's just talk Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. What do we think of it?
I liked it. It wasn't great by any means. It wasn't great, but I think the introduction of Jonathan Majors, right, as Kang, I really liked him. Mm-hmm. Him in this film. Maybe not necessarily everything that he did or him compared to his other himselves, but I really enjoyed that character and what could happen with that character. In my opinion, he was like the bright spot of this movie.
No, I definitely agree. You know, it's unfortunate because we was all looking forward to that movie, you know, especially seeing the cliffhanger on Loki. Mm-hmm. But the movie was unforgettable. Like, I went home and I thought about what was the dopest scene or what really stood out. I still don't know. It was kind of forgettable. It was kind of forgettable. Not unforgettable. It was kind of forgettable, yeah.
That is
just
fair.
a little bit.
So, yeah, one of the big stories around this one had the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score since Eternals. I've said on the show before, I actually kind of liked Eternals. I think we're the only people on this planet who liked Eternals.
It was solid. I mean, for what it was given, like,
I guess that's kind of what I feel about Ant-Man as well. Is like, yeah, to me, there wasn't like a lot of parts I hated, though. I feel like, if anything, maybe they could have cut a few subplot characters. Like, you didn't need Bill Murray in this role. Mm-hmm. You're bringing in Bill Murray into this universe. I expected a little bit more from that, I guess. But one of the things we joked about afterwards is like, this is a Star Wars movie pretending to be a Marvel movie.
Exactly. That's what I thought.
With ants.
That's exactly how I felt. I didn't know what direction Kevin Feige was really going.
Yeah.
It kind of looked like he didn't know what he was doing. But it was just a lot of glitter and glamorous. Mm-hmm. So it was just like, you just ate it up. So you ate your popcorn, you ate your candy bars, and was like, ooh, Ant-Man.
I will say, yes, if you go to this movie, I think Jonathan Majors as King the Conqueror, if you don't like him in this movie, you are going to hate this next many years of the MCU.
Yeah.
He's going to be a big part of it. He's the big bad. He's the new Thanos, essentially. And here's what I like about this movie and this phase, I guess, in general. They're giving us the big bad way sooner than the first phase did.
Yeah.
We didn't see Thanos. We didn't see Thanos, hear Thanos, anything till that fifth movie, Avengers. Mm-hmm. We've already seen him in action at this point in multiple properties. Mm-hmm. And he's living up to it, I think, at this point. If any of the other versions, and I feel like we should maybe talk a little bit about Kang the Conqueror. There's many variants of him. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different versions and different universes that'll come into the play here. If any of them are like the one we've got here, I think Marvel took a risk on a young actor for a big role. So far, it's paying off.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And just his work ethic outside of the film industry.
Yeah.
He likes to prepare, the way he works out. His work ethic, he's in Creed 3 for a reason, too.
Yeah. I'm actually maybe even more excited just to see that than I was Ant-Man. Or I should say, I'm more excited now to see Creed 3 just because of how I saw him in Ant-Man, and I'm excited to see him in not a superhero role. You're just a bad dude, and you're gonna be a great bad dude.
Yeah, he is a good. Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of our general thoughts on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I guess we would say we would all recommend it, right? Is that fair to say?
Especially if you're a fan of Marvel, you kind of have to watch it to keep that story intact to know what's going on. And it's really not that bad of a movie. It was just forgettable. It was just, I watched it.
And this is a point I've made before. Anything after Endgame was going to be forgettable.
Yeah.
When you have the battle scene that Endgame gave us, and then you almost try to recreate it in this movie, but with ants, that's going to just be not as good. It's just not going to be as fun. So in a weird way, Marvel has become their own worst enemy.
They have.
Like there's such a low expectation for DC right now that's kind of the best thing we've got going for us. Really Marvel has done the impossible multiple times. Yeah. It's like when you see a movie like this, it's like, you could do better.
Really could. And the CGI on some parts.
CGI, boy.
The CGI a couple of times was like, this isn't a made-for-TV movie. Yeah. This is like, come on.
This is cinema.
Yeah.
This is big screen.
As much as you would like to kind of give them an excuse, it's kind of hard to when Avatar 2 just came out a couple months prior or something like that, and you're like, but you got if you put in the effort, you can do it. You can do it.
Or even just previous Marvel movies.
Yeah, that's true too.
Because like Black Panther and all in themselves, that's straight full-on CGI.
Yeah.
You know, Captain America, some of his flips, they got stunt doubles to do some, you know?
Yeah.
But what are they doing?
Yeah.
Just lazy. Because they know it's going to sell.
Yeah.
They know it's going to sell.
If you can save a little bit off the top, why not?
Why not, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the Phase 5. Because like I said before, the box office was good, but not good for a Marvel movie. Yeah. It had a lot of drop-off second weekend. Reviews were, like I said, I think second lowest ever for an MCU movie. So let's ask ourselves the question. Let's ask ourselves two questions here. What do we expect from Marvel Phase 5? And is there maybe a sort of the first domino falling here of are people sort of getting a little less or a little bit more Marvel tired out? I've heard this argument before. I've generally not agreed with it. But this is sort of new information for me. I feel like we haven't had both these hits on one movie at one time, I feel like. Not that at least I can remember. So this might be the first sign for me, at least. I don't know. Because you have a bankable star of Paul Rudd as Ant-Man.
Yeah.
And you have the bankable star of Jonathan Majors as Kang. So it is kind of curious to me why people didn't return. Or not as many people came that second weekend.
I feel like if you were excited to go watch this movie and you're all caught up and you're a Marvel person, you went to go see it right away. And if you're not a Marvel person, I'll maybe see it sometime.
I can see that.
It'd be, and like, to be honest, how long is this film going to be in the theaters? Probably a while. Sometimes people just say, I don't need to see it yet, or I need to finish Loki, or not, especially expanding onto all the other things. If you don't go online and look, what do I need to watch before this? I mean, how many shows have they come out? Like, you don't necessarily need to see the Hawkeye show in order to see this, but if you don't know, you don't have to watch it. You might want to try and cram that in there. So I think that could be a reason people are staying away.
Do you think this is the showing of the rise of the I'll wait for it to be on Disney Plus crowd?
I was just about to say that. I think that is going to play a part in Marvel going forward. I mean, it hurt Black Widow. That movie just wasn't a good movie either, so it kind of falls in the same category. I saw some reviews that tried to say that about Doctor Strange as well. I totally was on the other end of that spectrum. Doctor Strange 2 was a great movie.
I really like that
Sam
one.
Raimi did his thing producing that movie. But it could be going straight to the subscription.
Because we're gonna in this Phase 5, it's about even Steven here as far as theatrical releases that are movies and Disney Plus seasons here. It's about even, I think.
And if you're a type of person that doesn't necessarily care if you're watching it on your 42-inch TV at home or 50-inch TV on home as compared to watching it at a movie theater, if you don't really care about, watching on the bigger screen, you could save yourself $20.
Yeah.
You wait another week or two and it might be on Disney Plus. Yeah. So I could definitely see that playing.
Because the thing I'm thinking of now is, on the one hand, I do see why they went so hard with a bunch of these shows on Disney Plus, because I feel like, and looking at some of the shows here, it's expanding the universe in these minor characters that would have never gotten a movie, I feel like. Like, you know, one of them is we're going to talk about here, Echo. I think she's a really fascinating character in Hawkeye, and I'm actually really looking forward to her show. There's no way in heck she would have gotten her movie.
Right now? No, not right now.
But because now they have this Disney Plus option, and we know it's going to eventually make it there eventually. Do you think that's maybe hurting it? Do you think it's, on the one hand, it's kind of its best friend story-wise in expanding the universe, but now the sacrifice is financially? Is it kind of its worst enemy?
I think story-wise, it's going to really help.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all know who I'm about to use as an example.
Yep. Just get it out of the way. Just do it.
Daredevil.
Yeah.
He got 18 episodes. He's setting a different type of tone and setting for these shows going forward. So with that level of, you know, we're honing in on an 18 episode show. I don't know how many Echoes going to happen. Was it 10?
I want to say it was like a 6 or 8.
6 or 8.
That's usually kind of the average.
It's still in that range of 6 to 8, like all the others. But they definitely are honing in on the TV series a little bit more, just to expand the story. So that could be playing a part, I would say. I mean, tiny bit. I mean.
But let's talk a little bit about Phase 5 here. We're basically going to kind of give like a Phase 5 preview here, talk a little bit about what to expect. This will take place the rest of this year and a little bit into 2024, I believe. So this is kind of the next year and a half for Marvel here. We've got this big character, Kang the Conqueror. He's been introduced. Let's talk about what else to look forward to here. The next thing really that's coming out is Secret Invasion, which is going to be a Disney Plus show. I'm basically, with each of these, I'm going to ask you guys, do you think it's going to have wider implications, or do you think it's going to be a little bit more of a centralized story? I think that's kind of what Marvel's looking at here. Do we do this just as fan service? This is for the fans of... I'm hitting my mic. I've never hit it there before. I'm getting mad here. I'm about to throw this thing.
Throw it.
I can't. It's not mine. Or is it going to be like, okay, we're expanding the universe, we're actually adding to it, or do you think some of these shows are just straight, okay, we're doing this comic book story for the fans? And I think Secret Invasion, personally, I think this one's for the fans.
Is that kind of like, do you think What If was for the fans?
What If was for no one. What If sucked. They tried to make that one for the fans, and it was not.
I kind of liked What If.
You liked What If?
Am I the only one that liked What If?
You might be in the minority for What If.
So I can't.
I like what If could have been, but I just couldn't get on board.
It was solid for what it was. I mean,
okay, yeah.
It was episodic. I mean, every episode had their own little story, kind of tied in at the end. Seeing the Watcher was kind of cool.
Yeah, having the Watcher was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So Secret Invasion, this is the one with Nick Fury. This is going to essentially be the Secret Invasion Skrull storyline from the comics. Do we think this is going to have wider implications?
I'm only saying I hope it does. I hope it does. I mean, you know, using this invasion or things like time travel, you've seen how it helped Fox with X-Men rewrite their wrongs, bringing in time travel. I think the Secret Invasion can kind of do the same thing. They might be able to bring some favorites back. Maybe an Iron Man. Maybe they might bring Captain America. I'm not a big fan, but he could be that one that they bring back as well, and they would do it this way. That wasn't really Captain America or Iron Man. It was a Skrull.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they sacrificed themselves, but I don't know. They can do they can do a lot with this Secret Invasion, and I'm kind of excited to see where they go with it. I think it could be a little bit wider than just being fan service.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Let's take a quick moment here and talk about the Marshall 6 Theater here in Marshall, Minnesota. As we move into February, more and more blockbusters will be showing up on the marquee, so make sure you check out their website for showtimes, and make sure you get there early so that way you get some good concessions. Also, be on the lookout for more Phantom events to show up here at the Marshall 6 Theater. Very exclusive, very different every time. So be sure to check out their website for showtimes and more.
Let's all go to the lobby get ourselves a treat.
Also coming out this year, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is going to be a movie. I'm super looking forward to this movie, but I also don't think this one's going to have wide implications. Mainly because I remember seeing an interview with James Gunn. What he kind of said about this movie is it kind of feels like the first two Guardians of the Galaxy did, I think, have implications, but that's because they were dealing with more cosmic stuff with the threats. I don't see where Kang would really fit in this. And even James Gunn has kind of said, like, when I started this story, I kind of already knew how I wanted to end it. And so I think Marvel was kind of like giving him like this last hurrah. He's moving over to DC now. This is essentially the last project James Gunn's working for with Marvel.
That's true.
They're going to kind of let him do his own thing here. So
Yeah.
I'm curious what you guys think.
Yeah, I agree with that because, well, first, all the rumors about who's going to die, who's not making it.
There's going to be a body count in this
Yeah.
movie.
You think so?
I'm betting there's going to be a
I
body
think so,
count.
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't direct the Suicide Squad and then come back to Marvel and be like, I'm done killing off characters. You are addicted to that now.
Okay.
He's on that high, and he's going to take out a bunch of people here, I think.
Yep. I think he's going to take out a bunch, too. Whether or not the remaining characters, how that all fits in, how does Thor fit into this? Like, that's what I'm curious to see. But
I seen the wait. Is Thor in the trailer?
I don't know
Is
if
he
he's
I
in
wouldn't
the
be
trailer
surprised
or
if he
not.
makes a cameo.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I don't
Thor's
know.
just kind of going around doing his own. He's not
doing
really a part
whatever.
of any team now at the end of Thor 4.
No.
He's just kind of like going around doing whatever now.
Yeah, he's having fun.
Yeah. this
He's having
is midlife crisis Thor.
seriously,
This is midlife
He don't know what he
crisis
want to
Thor.
do right now.
Or even essentially retirement Thor. He's like
He
just
don't know-
going around
I don't
to
know if he's
beaches.
an Avenger, Guardian.
He's not a revenge.
God.
He's not a revenger. He's not an Asgard. He's just Thor.
He's just Thor.
Yeah.
just doing his
Just
thing.
Thor.
At least he lost the weight, though.
He got
Yeah.
He got the weight off, so I'm happy for him for that.
You know. Y'all know I'm not a real big fan of Guardians. I really don't know what to expect. I know the big name of Adam Warlock. So let me ask y'all, how cool is he? Is he really an A-list type of? He's a neutral type. Is he evil or is he neutral?
He's kind of one of those. I think he's played both sides, but he's
feel like
like
he's neutral.
Superman level strong.
He's super okay.
But this is why I don't think he's going to have even implications later on, is because he was so integral to the Infinity War storyline
And what
that it's
past
like,
that?
well, we've already done that, so I don't really know how you include him. I mean, maybe he's in the background of the next,
Okay.
Yeah.
Endgame shot where it's the whole group of people. I'm not saying we see him here and he's done. I just don't see him
See
being
where he
like,
fits.
yeah, I don't see him being a big
'Cause-
thing.
Yeah, now that you say that, it is interesting that he didn't make an appearance before when it was all the Infinity
Because don't he
Stone
work
stuff.
for Thanos? Like he's under his leadership.
I can't remember how it was in the
dictatorship?
yeah leadership.
I'm gonna kill everybody, but leadership.
I voted for you.
Save me, hey! You got my ballot. I mean, dang.
I found it interesting too because they introduced him before Infinity War. Like he was at the very end in one of the mid-credit scenes in Guardians 2.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah.
So like they introduced him before that,
did.
and I don't know why they didn't use him. So like that kind of made me say to me like they just had no plans for him in Infinity War, and they are just kind of like, okay, we're just going to use him in this one.
Okay.
If he shows up later on, he shows up later on.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
Also, let's talk about Echo. I've mentioned it before. This is a character that was introduced in Hawkeye and now is getting her own show. Initially, I didn't think this was going to have huge implications either, but with rumored cameos from Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin and Charlie Cox's Daredevil, we've talked about in the past.
Oh yeah.
I think not only are they setting up this multiversal war, but they want to set up more of the ground level heroes, the ones that are kind of the vigilante types in New York and everything.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like that's not really something they've tapped into. Because you think about how they introduced Spider-Man, it was right away in Infinity
He
War.
was fighting aliens.
Yeah.
Off top. Yeah.
Right away. And so I don't think they've really dug into the ground level heroes here. And so I wonder if they are maybe kind of establishing two different things here. You got to think of the multiversal war, and then you got to think of, well, there's crime and stuff, and there's bad guys, and there's like evil people trying to take over the city, stuff like that. So I wonder if it's going to have those implications.
I think it'll be all connected, no matter however way you look at it.
Yeah.
There could be a king that wants to, knock on Daredevil's and Echo's door. Who knows? I don't know what they're going to do with King.
Yeah.
But I know it has to tie in. These shows coming forward to 2023 to 2024, they have to tie in somehow, some way to this theory of time.
Well, and speaking of which, that's a perfect segue into the next one, Loki season 2.
Yeah.
This is the only show that has been confirmed and is so far filmed to season 2. And I think it's because so much of this multiverse stuff that they're doing, that they established in Loki season 1, is kind of complicated.
Yeah.
Like I've studied real life stuff about multiverse just for funsies because I'm bored on a Friday night. My life is sad in that way. But
in the dark room set?
No. This one was well lit. This one was well lit.
Y'all check the last episode about the dark room reference. My boy Nick.
Okay, it was a little dark. Okay, there's only one lamp. All right.
All right, I knew it.
But because I think this is going to be a little bit more complicated. Like if you think about Thanos' plan was I'm going to collect 6 elemental physical stones, and I'm going to half the universe.
Yeah.
Here it's like, okay, we got to delve into some scientific stuff here. We got to tell you, how does this world work? And I think that's where Loki season 2 is going to come into play. Because I don't know if I see, at least in phase 5, I don't know if I see any of these movies really explaining it.
See, and the way that you said that, and that's why I think some of these shows going forward won't be a simple implication. Like, if Loki's going to be that big of that magnitude, that ties into so much. And even Loki 1 did. The first episode being that, during the 2012 invasion, and you see how that plays a part even up until Ant-Man 3. That's still, because it's still all connected. So I could definitely see where you're going at with that.
Yeah. Also, another series, or no, this one's a movie. Sorry about that. The Marvels. Kind of what I said before with Guardians. If this was the Infinity Saga, I feel like this one would have had a lot more implications. But again, I feel like they're still just, again, there's the multiversal war, there's stuff in the cosmos, and there's street level stuff. They're not ignoring the stuff in space. Just because Thanos is dead doesn't mean all crime and all bad guys have stopped in space. And I think that's where Guardians and Marvels are going to kind of play here. But another one that is going to be connected to a show prior, how are they going to get that information to the audience that didn't see Miss Marvel? I think they've done a pretty good job with Doctor Strange 2 and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania that were very connected to previous shows. I'm curious because, I'm curious how they're going to do it. This one's going to be a tough one, I think.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Because I haven't watched Miss Marvel yet.
And again, I left that kind of vague, but that's because, again, I don't want to go into spoilers as to what happens at the end of Miss Marvel here.
Just watch the ending of it. You won't miss too much. Maybe the first episode,
and the last
maybe even the
episode.
second one, and that last one.
But how are they? But I guess what I'm trying to say is, how are they going to explain Miss Marvel's origin? How are they going to explain it to the new audience in this in this movie, I should say? Because I'm not saying you have to go. I'm not saying you have to go over all the details of the show, but it's going to be, if like, picture you're in the movie theater and you're watching the Marvels for the first time and you've never seen Miss Marvel, and all of a sudden there's this character, Miss Marvel. It's like, well, who is she? What did I miss something? Yeah. I mean, you did, but at the same time, you can't force people to pay for your subscription and catch up with this. This is the juggling act I think Marvel really has to do these next few phases. All right, we're going to kind of run through these ones pretty quickly here. Ironheart, I think that was just going to be a fun show. She was a pretty great character, though, in Black Panther 2, though.
She actually was, yeah.
Blade. I'd like to determine what this is going to make implications for, but there's so many behind-the-scenes drama right now. I don't even know if they know at this point. But, they've gone through some directors, a lot of behind-the-scenes drama on that one. So
I've had my doubts with that, even when it was first announced. I'm not going to lie.
So do you think it's still... Do you think there's a chance it might not even come out?
There's a slight chance. I believe it still will come out, but they just restarted the entire production. And had to get a new director. I mean, that's always alluding to, that's just bad signs of something ain't working. Something ain't right.
Agatha, Covenant of Chaos. Again, I don't think it's going to have a lot of implications here. I like the cast, but the magic stuff in MCU is so confusing to me. Yeah. Because there's apparently different forms of magic. Try figuring that one out. Daredevil Born Again. We mentioned it before. 18 episodes. Longest Disney Plus MCU show, I guess I should say. But yeah, I think this is really where it's going to tie itself together here. Captain America 4, New World Order. again, similar thing. How are they going to kind of introduce, or how much of the information that happened in Falcon and the Winter Soldier are they going to put into this movie? So that way it's not like a huge turn for people who are just watching the movies here. But
I would hope they do that and
Yeah.
follow with like Thunderbolt type related stuff. I feel like they have to.
And then finalizing MCU Phase 5 as of the time of this recording. Like I said, we don't know when Blade's going to come out, or they might add other projects as well. Thunderbolts, this is basically the MCU's version of the Suicide Squad. Now, initially, I didn't think this one was going to have any implications, but why have this as the tail end, if not some sort of finale or something like that? I wonder if there's going to be something big that happens.
They're going to end up in something big at the end of the movie. They're going to do something.
They're going to end up in another universe, you think?
They're going to do something
point?
uncalled for, and it's just going to mess up everything somehow, some way.
I'm just picturing Red Guardian just actually hitting a button. It's like, okay, now we're in a different universe. How do we get here, guys?
What do we do?
We got to get out of here.
You know, but if I can go on a tangent and talk about Baron Zemo, I hope they really evolutionize him, because him in the comics, when he got contaminated with that use of X, the mask conforming to his face, the white pupils, the superhuman, I hope they really make him the big bad villain.
Yeah,
that
they really haven't done much with Zemo.
And he was cool. You can like, because he had the training, being in the army, so he was able to fight. He could shoot any type of gun. He got the resources, being a Baron Zemo. But that's really not. That's a shell of who he really is.
Yeah.
So I hope they really add on to him.
So, finalize this here. Crazy prediction time. Is there any kind of out there thoughts that we think might be introduced in any of these Phase 5 here that we want on the record? So that way, if it happens, we can say we have proof. I could start us off if you guys need time to think or something like that. I don't know if it'll be in Captain America 4 or Thunderbolts, but I just have this feeling that one of those two projects is going to officially bring in the X-Men somehow, some way.
Which ones you said?
Just really introduce the X-Men in either Captain America 4 or
Captain
the Thunderbolts. Because at a certain point, I think what they're going to do is, and they kind of already alluded to this, they're basically going to be like, just anyone with a superpower is mutant now. And they just never put that label on it. So now they're going to be like, oh, these people have always been mutants. This has kind of always been a thing. But I think it's going to be, I don't know, New World Order. Just for some reason, I feel like that has some sort of double meaning where like the world is changing.
Okay.
And now mutants are such a huge thing, and there's more and more super powered people. I don't think it's going to have a huge part of that movie, but just, I don't know why. I'm just pulling towards
You
that.
just got that feeling.
Got that gut feeling.
All right.
Who wants to go next?
Man, let me ask a question. Is Miss Marvel, the new one that's coming out, or Captain Marvel, is that going to be taking place in outer space?
I think a majority of it's going in outer space, yeah.
Outer space. I feel like that movie could. That's trying not to get no spoilers away. Maybe. Just because of the Miss Marvel show.
Yeah.
You just
And that
never
is
know.
kind of where they first introduced that idea.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe outer space, because there are a lot of mutants out of space too within the X-Men story.
Yeah, they did.
So
They
I
did go
can
to
see
space every once in a
A
while.
lot, actually. They
Yeah.
went to space.
Now that I think about it, it was actually kind of weird how often they went into space.
They did. So maybe the new Captain Marvel can.
At this
maybe-
point, are we just taking bets as to when we think they're going to introduce the X-Men?
Kind
Should we
of.
just do that when we think they're going to introduce the X-Men?
I would bet that within, like you said, within this Phase 5, the end of 2024, I bet there will be something. It might not be big. It might be a post-credit scene or something, but something will happen. Yeah. If I had to guess.
But we're asking you to pick a spot. We picked a spot here, bro. I see what you're trying to do here. You're betting on all the horses, all right? Pick one.
And then he was like, "Yeah, I told y'all."
See, it happened in Phase 5. Well, yeah, that's covering a year and a half.
We knew that.
That's like me saying, I bet a full moon will show up this next month. Yeah, it's gonna at some point this
at
next
10
month.
o'clock it's gonna be dark outside.
Come on.
Choose your side.
No, if I had to guess, Nick, I like what you were saying with the New World Order having a double meaning. But I don't know. Or, yeah, I'm going to go with that. I'll go with X-Men. I don't know. I have no.
But, like,
I
when?
have no.
Why am I
Okay.
here?
Yeah, I have absolutely no idea.
Just say a movie and I'll cut it and I'll make it seem like you said that first try. I'm actually not going to do that.
no. What's Thunderbolts?
So you think Thunderbolts?
Yep,
Okay.
that's what I'm going with.
I like that one too.
Hey, we talk a lot about movies on this channel, but sometimes the ones we talk about aren't the most accessible. That's where the Marshall-Lyon County Library comes in handy. They have a great collection of physical media, as well as a couple of online services with many, many options for movies, TV shows, and documentaries. It's easy. Just get your own library card at the Marshall-Lyon County Library and gain access to their large variety of movies, TV shows, and of course, books. Also, be sure to check back every month as we here at Popcorn Bucket List make specific movie recommendations based on a monthly theme. This month, we're focusing on actors with a personal connection to Minnesota. So head on over to the Marshall-Lyon County Library for some of our favorites and check out the channel to get even more movie recommendations. And now, on with the show. Let's move into the weekly preview, talk about all the movies coming out this weekend. A little bit of a shorter weekend, but some pretty good ones here to talk about. First things first, Creed 3 coming to theaters. This is the third movie in the Creed franchise, but the 9th movie overall in what I like to call the Rocky Creed Cinematic Universe, aka the RCCU.
I like that.
Yeah.
So here's another crazy theory for me. Jonathan Majors is in this movie, Michael B. Jordan in this movie, both in Marvel. I think this is a secret Marvel movie. This is Kang's variant going to recruit a Killmonger variant to help him fight the Avengers.
Perfect.
MCU confirmed. It's been a while since we pulled that joke.
Yep. I love it.
Kevin Feige thought he was asleep. He thought.
But in all seriousness, so yeah, this is another story in Creed's story, who's the son of Apollo Creed, obviously from the Rocky franchise. We've mentioned it before. We're going to say it again. Jonathan Majors, he's been killing it. And I see no different. I don't see that streak ending with this movie.
Yeah.
No.
Based on the trailer here.
He looks good. He looks fit, and he looks mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's gonna be
Yeah.
awesome.
Built.
He's gonna.
Yeah.
I think when I first saw the set photos when they were filming Creed 3 and Creed 3, and then I knew he was gonna be the villain in Ant-Man, this latest Ant-Man. I was like, oh, Ant-Man's dead.
Yeah.
He's so dead.
I know.
He's done.
And he got away.
The Avengers are so
right.
screwed.
Yeah.
The Avengers are so done right
Yeah.
now.
Straight up.
But yeah, this is actually also not only the third one that Michael B. Jordan has starred in, but this is the first one he's directed in as well.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see how he is as a director in this. We've had two different directors in these other two movies. First one was Ryan Coogler, great director. I can't remember off the top of my head the name of the guy who directed the second one, unfortunately. But I believe Ryan has kind of been a part of this story the whole way so far. And yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty good trilogy here.
It should be.
Also coming out that weekend, Operation Fortune, also to theaters. This is another spy-like action movie from director Guy Ritchie. In an attempt to stop an evil arms dealer, these operatives send in, basically the bad guy's favorite actor to go spy on him. This is kind of a crazy...
That's different.
Yeah, that's an
different.
out there plan.
Oh, yeah.
That's an out there plan. I'll give him that. We kind of joked about this before the show. Jason Statham's in this. I don't think he gets enough credit for how good of an action star
I don't
he is.
think he does. Anything with him in it, it's a staple. It's a pillar in cinema history.
I don't think he gets as good of movie roles as he should be getting.
Yeah, because he's always that Asian bodyguard, somebody with a gun, and somebody that know how to fight.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but no, I love him. I've been watching him at least since in Cellular. Have you ever seen Cellular?
Cellular, yeah.
I think I missed Cellular.
With who plays Captain America? Chris Evans. He's in it.
Chris
It's
Evans.
them two going at it. It's,
yeah.
It's a real good. Check it out.
I'll check that one
Cellular.
out.
Real good movie.
See, I remember. I think it was like Transporter 2
Oh,
or
Transporter, yep.
Transporter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a poster of it because we got it at the movie theater, and it was on my garage floor, and we were doing something, and I just kept standing on it. That's all I remember. I don't know why, but that just always pops in my head when I think Jason Statham. That's like the first thing that pops in my head. It's like I used to have a poster of him.
And you walked all over him.
I did.
This
It
is
was
why
cool.
this is why they don't take him as a serious box office because of you. We could
I'm
be
sorry.
having better Jason Statham movies, but boo that man.
And don't let him see him in person too and find out. He did.
Yeah. I hope he's not watching this.
Jason,
But if you are,
Jason Statham,
go get him.
message me. I'll give you his
You know what
address.
to do. Go get him.
I'll give you his address.
We in Marshall.
we'll have you on the show if you want to talk.
Yeah, we'll have you beat him up.
Yeah.
And then he can replace you.
Right.
Yeah.
Dang. It just got dark in here.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
There's one lamp in here.
You guys are never gonna let me live that down. Never gonna let me live that down. But you guys want to know some fun facts about this movie? Some behind the scenes stuff. So, fun fact: this movie was supposed to come out last year, almost over a year ago. 2 reasons stopped it from this point. One, it had to go through some reshoots because the bad guys in this were Ukrainian, and this was right after the Ukrainian invasion. So they had to fix that. They had to fix that, and then the studio that was going to distribute it went out of business.
Dang.
And so now it's taken this long for them to get a new studio to basically distribute it.
Yep.
Wow.
Because I was reading something like, oh yeah, the trailer came out like December 2021.
So
And now here we are finally seeing it March 2023.
Really?
Yep.
now, when you're saying they had to do reshoots, now were the bad guys speaking Ukrainian, or how is there like
They probably just like that's a good question.
because that's a very
References to
different.
Ukraine?
Yeah, there's a very different of you're shooting 3 scenes over because this, or every scene the bad guys are in, they're talking, and you don't want that.
Yeah.
Or there's their tracksuits have the Ukrainian flag on. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
what? I wonder what the extent was, because if it was like speaking, then everything you shot with them has to be redone, and that's a lot of reshooting.
I bet, yeah. They probably did that. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, I'd be curious. I did a little
You
bit of
serious
research
enough.
before. Yeah, like I couldn't find a lot of details as far as how much they had to change or what they had to change. I just know that was something they were like, okay, we obviously can't have these guys be the bad guys, you know.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Wow.
But also finally coming out this weekend, Blue Back. This is also coming to theaters. It gives some real Free Willy Nat Geo documentary vibes, but it is a narrative film. Long story short, basically an Australian mother and daughter do everything they can to protect their local wildlife, underwater wildlife, I guess I should say. Specifically this one fish. It stars Mia. I'm going to butcher this last name. I apologize.
You're gonna what's his last name?
I'm going to butcher it. I'm going to butcher it so hard. I'm going to butcher it so hard I butchered the word butcher. You know what? Screw you guys. I'm not even going to say the name now.
Give it to us, Nick. Just do it, man.
Mia Wasikowasaka. Nope. It stars the girl who played Alice in the Alice in Wonderland movies, and it also stars Eric Bana. So yeah, it's if you don't want a lot of action or fighting, want a little nicer, like up against the man, you know, don't touch your wildlife kind of movie, that'd be a fun one too.
Okay.
But let's move into some number one recommends here, wrap up this show, talk about something we think you should all check out. I'll kick us off real quick with Creed 3 coming out this week. I'm kind of doing a Rocky rewatch, trying to watch all of them, or at least as many of them as I can before I see Creed 3. So I'm just going to recommend Rocky. This one was nominated for Best Picture, I think won Best Picture back in the day for a reason. This is essentially the movie that all other boxing movies in general have tried to emulate. Even future Rocky movies, to be completely honest, have tried to recapture this lightning in a bottle. And I think the closest one to get it was Creed. But yeah, it's a great one. This is really Sylvester Stallone at his earliest, I think at his best. Go and check it out. Tahjee, do you got a number one recommend? Anything you've been watching recently?
I guess not movies, but The Last of Us.
Oh, you've been seeing the
Yeah.
HBO
Oh,
show?
you-
Yeah,
okay,
I've
yep.
been watching The Last of Us. They had some changes that I thought were a little different. Kind of went down a different avenue I didn't really see coming. But it really the dichotomy between the game and the movie really coexist together. So that's kind of cool to see. So for anybody that played the game, you'll get that same feeling watching the show. So
All right.
it's a good story.
I haven't watched it yet. My wife and I are watching something, and then when that's done, then we're gonna start The Last of Us.
Last of Us, okay.
Yep.
Well, you have to watch Daredevil because
Yeah, yeah,
See?
yeah. I watched a couple episodes of Arrow, and I know you really like Arrow, but then don't worry about it.
Please.
Don't worry about it.
We're going to talk about how you don't like Arrow here after this too, but we'll get into that later. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what are you recommending this week, Ryan?
I'm recommending Cocaine Bear. Have you seen Cocaine Bear yet?
I ain't seen it yet.
Nick and I went to it. Awesome. It also stars a former alumni from SMSU, Isaiah Whitlock Jr. He was actually on the show, friend of the show.
Check that out last
They're
week.
famous now.
Yeah.
I wish I could be these guys.
But it's fun. It was a fun movie. The comedy was good. The horror was pretty good. And it was just cool seeing an alumni and somebody that we got to talk to up on the screen. So
That's dope.
I enjoyed it.
That's all the way dope.
Well, that's going to do it for us here on this episode of Popcorn Bucket List. If you have any of your own movie recommendations, obviously let us know in the comments down below or in person. Carrier pigeon, email, however you wish to do that. And be sure to check out Tahjee's own show. You've been episode 2 is up now.
Yeah,
Smack Talk Podcast.
Smack Talk Podcast. My name is Tahjee, but they call me Smack. Y'all check it out. Man, got the second episode up. Episode 3 will be uploaded real soon. So
Perfect.
I'm liking what we're doing.
For myself, Tahjee, Ryan Meyerberg, we'd like to thank you so much for watching, and we will see you at the movies.